Hello. Today I'm here with Connor Werline, age 21, from Fairfax, Virginia. And we're going to be talking about his time off of school and the adventures he had during that time. I guess I'll just start off with why'd you leave school?
So I went to school for the first 2 years, and I was playing soccer, and I was majoring in communications, minoring in history, and I just kind of realized that I was just doing that major just cause, and I really just got kind of sick and tired of just the basic norm, and thought there was more out there, so I took a couple years off just to travel around and get a new perspective before finishing up school.
Right. Now, what'd your parents think about that originally? Were they, okay with it, or...
I think they it's not like they were upset or anything, but they definitely encouraged me because my mom especially loves to travel, so she thought it was really cool because she never had the opportunity to do that when she was younger, and she told me that this was the only time, because we're about to become adults, that you really have the freedom to do that.
And so, in your travels, where were the places you went to, and what was the first place you went to?
So the first place I went to was Costa Rica, and I did a bunch of research at home and found a program called Frontier that lets kids like me, or actually of any age, go to certain countries, and they focus on either you can go for animals, you can go for kids, so you go and you teach a class somewhere or something like that, so it's different volunteer opportunities. So I love animals, so I went down to Costa Rica. It has one of the most diverse ecosystems in the world, so it just intrigued me. So I went down there for 2 months and stayed in a camp with about 15 other kids my age. Some doing masters, studying for their masters, so they would pick a certain type of species or a certain type of animal that they were doing research on, and every day we'd go and do different hikes to collect data, and then we'd submit that data to the Costa Rica government because it's so remote back there that there's not a whole lot of people that are counting the population of how many animals are back there and certain stuff like that, just to get an idea of where the species are at and stuff like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And where in Costa Rica?
So I was all the way down in the south, so we were right on the beach, right next to the national park Corcovado, but an hour outside of a little town called Puerto Jimenez. It was called Karate. It wasn't even a town, no grocery store, no hospital, anything like that. It was just one or two little hostel type things for tourists if they want to come down there, but for the most part it's just all locals.
Right.
Dirt path, you have to take in this sketchy truck thing that drives you in there on this crazy dirt road and kind of drops you off in the middle of nowhere.
So when you got there, you got off the airport, it got to the airport.
Yeah, I got off the airport in San Jose and then flew in a little tiny plane with only 3 other people to Puerto Jimenez, where I got picked up, and then stopped in camp. Stopped and got dropped in camp, met everybody. They kind of showed me the routine of what I needed to do. And the first hike was the next morning at 5:30 in the morning, did an 8-mile hike.
It was the first thing you did, just right away, 8 miles?
Well, in the morning, yeah. Once I got settled in, it was a little eye-opening. I was like, oh, jeez. But it was awesome. I mean, because the main focus there was the turtle population. Because that's a huge thing. Turtles are rapidly dying,
right?
But their species is diminishing. So a lot of times when the turtles lay their eggs and stuff, dogs or other animals will come eat them or dig them up. So we would go in the morning and we'd see if any turtles came up, and we'd check their tracks. You'd see these huge tracks, you can't miss them. It's like a tow truck or something came through, or like a car, and we'd go and we'd see if they laid a nest, and if they did, we'd count the eggs, and then we'd put them back, cover it up so that no other animals. We built like our own bamboo, kind of like panels to cover where it was, so nothing would dig it up. And then after a certain amount of time, once it was like six months, I think, they hatched. We'd go back and we'd dig up the nest and see how many hatched. So we'd be like, okay, 60 hatched, but like 15 of them didn't hatch, and like why? So we ripped them open and see like what stage they died in or something. Like there's different stages.
Right.
So you could see like, was it disease, or just did this egg just not develop and stuff like that. So the morning hike, you do that. So you walk 4 miles down the beach, and then you conduct your survey, and then once you're done, we had to hike back through the jungle. So that was just like an example of one of the many different types of hikes we did. We did stuff looking for monkeys. We did stuff at night looking for snakes and other different reptiles and stuff like that. So each person had like a leader that was like their field that they were studying. So there's this guy from Italy. He's a huge reptile guy. So we do night hikes with him and stuff like that.
Okay. And like, so as far as supervisors and stuff goes, what supervisors did you have? How old were they? Or were you guys pretty, like, not on your own, but like figured some things out by yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it was like a team effort, if that makes sense. Like, not one person. There was one like person who was paid, and she was like the stationed person in Costa Rica named Laura, and she didn't really come on any hikes, but she just oversee and make sure everything was running smoothly. She didn't even live in the camp with us, but then we had 2 or 3 other people that were there for 6 months, and that was like an internship for them type thing. So they weren't getting paid, but they were like the ones that would write the reports and all that stuff.
Right.
But I mean, they were like 23, 24. So it was like half and half, like people that were there to study the animals, and then half like me that were just there to volunteer and get a new experience.
Could you describe the campsite, the place you stayed at?
Yeah, so it was right outside of pretty much the jungle, and we had a bunch of trails all around us, so it was like very accessible. But yeah, no electricity, or we had like a solar panel type thing to be able to like charge phones and stuff, but no service. We had running water, but cold showers. We had no fridge, so everything we ate was vegetarian pretty much. But yeah, I slept in a bunk bed that was the floor was all gravel and dirt, and had a bug net because mosquitoes were bad there and stuff. So there was like one room with like 6 bunk beds, so you had 3 different cabins for everybody. But it wasn't like, it was all a screen-in porch, like it wasn't like a log cabin or anything like that. It was just held together by like this wire stuff and planks, so that was pretty wild. And yeah, we had like a little kitchen for all of our food, and then we had like a common area with like hammocks and stuff like that, but nothing crazy. A couple chickens running around to lay eggs and stuff. But yeah, so it was definitely really different. You're washing your clothes by hand and everything like
right.
that. So yeah, I mean, not a lot of people could endure that lifestyle if you're not prepared for it, I guess.
Right. And you said you were right outside of the jungle, so like, did you guys ever have any issues with wildlife getting into the living areas and stuff like that?
Yeah, all the time. We had monkeys everywhere running around, but not like in our camp, but up in the trees and stuff. But yeah, spiders were a big problem. Like they had these spiders called wanderers that are huge, and that thing bites you. You got like an hour to live.
And there's no hospitals near you.
No, like it would be. I don't even know what the procedure would be to do that. But I mean, everyone is like trained. Like the people are trained for, but I don't know. They're not trained for stuff like that.
Right.
Like scrapes and stuff. Like we deal with all that stuff. But if something super serious happened, it would definitely be a big problem. But that's just kind of how all the like locals live like that, But yeah, so the spiders were a big problem. We had iguanas in our kitchen once that we had to get out. He was hanging out in there, which was pretty wild one time.
And those are pretty like bigger than most people think. Like,
yeah, and they're nasty too. Like they're not friendly.
They're not.
Like he was whipping with the reptile guy. What the heck think was his name. It's been so long. Roger, yeah. He had like one of those metal hook things that he's trying to just carefully get him out. Because like the whole point, like I had someone once tell me, they're like, you guys never had like guns with you? And I was like, yo, like we're there for like animal conservation. Like we're in their, we're in their habitat. So like,
right.
you gotta respect that. So yeah, even if a spider's in there, like we're not killing that or anything like that. Like we're in their habitat. We're just observing what they do. Like we're in their world.
Yeah.
So that was also like a super cool like thing that kind of opened my eyes a little bit. It's like you're in their world. You don't go and touch any of them. Like this is
right.
all like you're just there. So we're not interfering with any of them. Like even the turtles that come up on the beach, like we're not touching them. Like at nighttime, we have to use a red light because the white lights scare them and make them disoriented. So it's all based off of how they treat the animals the right way and stuff like that. So that's what I really liked about it. But yeah, I mean, we also had big cats too. We had camera traps set up all around our camp. So like we caught a puma on camera one time at night.
How close to your camp was the puma?
A mile away. So one night, and that's like a huge deal. Like a lot of people hadn't seen a puma. I don't think anyone. I think one person had seen a puma. So when we caught that, we did a night stalk, which was probably like the scariest thing that we did. That I felt like we did. It was like me and 4 other people, and we walked a mile out to where the camera trap was, and
this is at night.
At night, pitch black, and we sat on a log. We had to check the log for ants and spiders and snakes, and we'd sat on the log and we sat there in complete silence for an hour. And if we heard a sound, we were supposed to shine our light over there. And then we're sitting there, it's like 11 o'clock, and I'm like, yo, so what's in my mind? I'm like, so if a puma is going to roll up on us right now, like that's kind of wild, and my heart started racing. We heard a sound, and it was a deer. And I was like, okay, I'm happy that actually wasn't
not a puma.
Yeah, but yeah, that was wild. That was super cool. So yeah, the cats was like the big, like there's like the rare animals there that everyone's intrigued with, which is the puma, the jaguar, the leatherback turtle, and a harpy eagle, and ocelots too, which are like these little tiny cats that are nocturnal. We caught one of those too, and they can rotate their paws 180 degrees.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they live in trees. Like, they're never come down on the ground. So we caught one on the ground, which was like unheard of. Like, we had to check with locals to identify it to make sure it was an ocelot, which was pretty wild. So.
And you were talking about how when you went to Costa Rica, like your program is in their habitat, and also while being in their habitat, you're also in other people's homes. Like,
yeah.
So could you describe your program's relationship with the locals of the area you were in? Like, did you guys get along? Were they happy to have you guys there?
Yeah. So one of the really cool things was the locals were super nice. Like, I made a lot of friends. Like, I play pickup soccer with all the locals once a week. They come and pick us up on their motorbikes, and we drive down to the field, and it's got 2 bamboo poles with a bamboo pole going across, and that's the entire goal. And we're just playing in this field. There's like trees in the middle of the field, so like we got along with the locals really well. But locals also, they don't love the tourists, because tourists come in and they disrespect the community and the culture. And it's not, I don't know if they do it on purpose, they just don't realize.
Right.
So I had a lot of conversations with people like that, and just talking about like the right way to treat the community and stuff like that. So you just got to respect, where their property is and like their traditions and stuff like that. And they actually helped us a lot. Like, we worked with the locals a lot to make the program successful. So there was like a local turtle guy who'd been living on the beach there for like 40 years. And if he ever saw a turtle come up, he'd let us know. So we'd go over there, and he was working with us. Like, we do releases with him. And Laura, the main girl, she's fluent in Spanish, so that really helped us. So she would talk to them, and that was another big thing, is like being able to speak Spanish and like just being able to like.
You are able to speak at least a little Spanish?
Yeah, I did Spanish in high school, and I did it in college. I tested out of it, so like I knew I could talk my way through conversations and stuff like that.
Right.
Not great, but just making the effort is what
Right.
is the biggest part about that. So I had some of the coolest people I met. I was just talking to in Spanish. Like we'd go out on the weekends or something like that. I had a bunch of really good conversations, and I ended up knowing locals when we'd go into town, and they'd recognize us and ask us how everything's going and stuff like that. So I thought it was, we had a great relationship with the locals, which was awesome.
Yeah, I feel like that's also very
that was
important.
A big part, yeah.
Right.
To feel welcomed and also to keep that relationship going and stuff,
right.
Maintain that. Yeah.
And I feel like you guys are less tourists and more like you're there for a reason. You're not just there to visit.
Yeah,
so that helps as well.
Yeah.
And so where did like the other people like you were working with, where were they coming from? All from America?
So that was another pretty cool thing. A lot of them were from the UK because Frontier is based out of the United Kingdom. So a lot of people were from Europe. So we had a lot of people from England. I had a good friend from Wales, Italy, Ireland. There was only 2 other people that were from the States.
That's crazy.
So I get made fun of a lot about our lingo.
Yeah.
Because just like, like they call a trash can the wheelie bin.
The wheelie bin.
Yeah. And so I was like, that's ridiculous. But I was the one in the wrong.
Yeah.
Because I got like 15 other people that are making fun of all that stuff.
Yeah, you're the only one calling it trash. Everyone else is calling it the wheelie bin.
Yeah, the big one was buoy. They call it a boy. And I was saying, well, that can be like there's a boy in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so that was cool, and it really made me want to go to Europe a lot more because those are some of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life, and I still talk to a bunch of them. And it's been over a year since I've seen any of them. I actually had one just text me today saying, "Hey, I heard you were in Hawaii. I want to hear about that." So that was another cool thing is I made some great relationships and great friends, lifelong friends there. And I was only there for 2 months, which is wild.
Right.
So.
And just like the last thing on your time in Costa Rica, and then we'll go to your next, I guess, adventure, we'll call it. Could you just walk us through like the typical day of like the order of business when you were in Costa Rica?
Of course. So there's this huge whiteboard we have, and it would list all the different hikes that we were going to do for that day. And so, it's encouraged that you do at least like 2 of them, just because it's like a safety reason. Like a person who's doing a hike, like they can't go out with just like 1 or 2 people. So, a lot of people, once you did like the morning turtles walk a couple times, it's 8 miles. It's not like an easy thing, and you have to wake up early. So the night before, everyone would sign up for the day. So in the morning, people would be waking up at 5 a.m. to go do the turtle walk, but then maybe I'd wake up at like 7 and go do like a mammal survey with someone else. So every day you'd have like the different hikes that you'd be doing. And then in the morning, breakfast is fend for yourself, so you got to make your own breakfast. But then when it come to lunch and dinner, everyone would you'd have like an assigned group be like, oh, you're on kitchen duty today. So like me and 2 other people would cook the entire lunch for the entire camp, and we'd cook dinner for everybody. So that was like once a week, and then you'd also have like your regular chores that you need to do. So someone would be like, hey, I need to cut down some bamboo. Like we made a huge gazebo when we were there. So we like one day, like me and 2 guys chopped down like 30 bamboo trees, and we're dragging them all but like a half a mile back to our camp. So just in the regular day, it's like you're just doing your hikes, and then you're just helping out with chores, and if you're on kitchen duty, you're doing that. But there's also a lot of downtime, which we had like a huge selection of books. So like a lot of days I'd be reading in my hammock and stuff like that. So so that was like kind of the typical day, and you go to bed at like 8, and then on the weekends, we got all the different tours. So we did different tours on the weekends and stuff like that. So I did a boat tour, went to a coffee farm, snorkeling, all that stuff. So we'd work really, really hard during the week, and you'd be exhausted. Like I lost like 20 pounds when I was there. And, like I'm not a big guy, so I came back, I was a twig. But yeah, so that was pretty much like the typical day. So
Very cool. All right, so we'll just take a little break and then talk about the next place you went to. Okay, so we're back. And you said the Costa Rica trip was the first one you went on.
Yeah.
And then the second one you went on was where? And how long after the trip to Costa Rica did you go on it?
So before I left for Costa Rica, I applied for this job in Alaska in Skagway, working with sled dogs, and so I got the job before I left for Costa Rica.
How did you hear about the job?
So my cousin actually, his buddy worked there for a summer, and he knew that I was trying to do something for the summer that took up, the entire time. So he said that his buddy had a great experience there. So I actually talked to his friend on the phone for about an hour, even just taking me through, what the job entailed and explaining it to me. It's better than a description, on the website. So I talked to him and I just was like, this sounds awesome. So I applied for the job and he put in a word with the manager. So the manager knew that I knew this guy. So had a phone interview and got the job. So when I came back from Costa Rica at the end of March, I had a month in April. I had the whole month of April, and I left like April 29th. Flew to Alaska. So
Where did you first fly into in Alaska?
I flew into Juneau, and then I took a 6-hour ferry ride all the way to Skagway.
How was the ferry ride?
It was awesome. It was beautiful. It was a long trip.
About how long would you say?
It was 6 hours. So that was. But I knew two people on the boat with me that were actually going to work at the same place. So I met them, which was cool beforehand. So I knew a couple people before walking into the camp. So yeah, so got there. They had a crew house that I stayed in that night down in the town, and then the next day we get there and we had to. It was on a glacier, so the only way to get anything up there is by helicopter. So the helicopters had to fly in all the supplies up there. So they had a huge cable coming down, and they'd hook up stuff up to the cable, and they'd fly everything up. And then to get the dogs up there, they would take out the back seats in the helicopters, and there was these boxes that you put the dogs in and fly them up. So that was a pretty crazy first day. Definitely didn't know if I was cut out for it. It was pretty wild. We were going with these helicopters with their propellers going like crazy, and I'm trying to get these dogs into the box. They weren't too happy about it, but they're used to traveling those boxes, just not in a helicopter. But it was like a 5-minute helicopter.
And what type of dogs were you guys bringing up there, and why? What exactly was?
So it was
the job.
It was Huskies, and the job was a tour group. So it was like a cruise ship town, I guess, and so big cruise ships.
And that's Skagway was
Skagway, yeah.
Okay.
So these big cruise ships would come in with hundreds and hundreds of people, and if they wanted to book a tour up there, they'd fly up in the helicopter. And my job was a handler, so I worked for 2 mushers, which was 80 dogs, and my job during the day was picking up poop and feeding and watering the dogs, but also for tours I was getting all the dogs and hooking them up on the lines. And when the tour would go off, I'd help my other musher hook his other dogs up. They'd go off, and when they'd come back in, I'd unhook the dogs, put the new dogs back on. So we do 16 tours in a day, so roughly about 250 people that I'd be working with, and then probably 250 people total. So yeah.
Did you when you were up there? Did you ever meet anyone that had lived near you or anything like that, or were most people from Alaska?
All the people I worked with, no one was from the East Coast.
No
Except,
one.
Well, one person was my roommate, Ronnie. But yeah, everyone else was either from Alaska or from we had Iowa, kind of those more northern states with the cold and stuff, and so mostly everyone except for a couple people were used to working with dogs. So or some type of animal experience. So yeah, I didn't really meet a whole lot of people from Virginia. Maybe a couple of people I talked to that came up on the glacier. There was one guy wearing a Caps hat, so I talked to him about So
Yeah.
because you don't
And you were there this past summer when they had just won.
exactly
Right.
So
Are you a big Caps fan?
I'm a big Caps fan. Yeah.
Were you able to watch the game up on the glacier, the games?
Yeah, we were able to stream it for a little bit, but it was on like a 5-inch iPhone, so it definitely wasn't as fun as it would have been to
Right.
be here in DC for it. But yeah, so yeah, pretty much didn't know anyone going into it, which was, I think, good for me, and but same thing as Costa Rica, some of the best people I've ever met in my life, and that job was longer and it was definitely more intense because
How long were you in Alaska?
I was there for 4 months, but the living conditions were definitely restricted. We were up there for 5 days at a time, couldn't take a shower, no running water, so all the water's brought up, and we had like 2 little outhouses up there. But
So you would shuttle back and forth between the glacier and
yeah,
how would you do that?
by helicopter
Every time?
every
The helicopter?
time, yeah. So and that was one of the coolest things. Like, it's a pretty cool way to get to your job.
Yeah, I bet.
But yeah, so we had a cook up there full time. So, but yeah, still same thing, like everyday chores. So even after like all the tourists leave, like I still had to drive a snow machine around the entire trail up there and pick up all the poop on the trail, because another big thing, like I said in Costa Rica, was just like respecting, where we were. So like that was technically a national forest up there. So we had like a permit to be up there. We had to pick up all the dog hair, pick up all the poop, because if you don't, the snow, it just gets covered over.
Right.
So like it just stays up there. Like, it's not going away anytime soon. So that was another big thing. Just respecting where we were, and you're in a different element up there. It's all snow, and but yeah, no crazy storms or anything like that. People always ask me like, were there crazy storms and stuff, and it's summertime, so it's not snowing. We're pretty much on the snow's time, so we had to cut the season short because we had no more snow left. Because you have to pack all the poles in for the dogs. Because they live up there, so they have their own little house, but everything has to be held together by snow. So once the snow ran out, it's not safe for anybody. Crevasses open up, and it can get really dangerous. So that's why we had to call it. We're like, it's just not safe for anyone to be up here anymore. So that was pretty wild as well.
How was working with the dogs? Were they all like well trained? Were there ever any issues with them fighting each other?
So the dogs were well trained in the sense for running, like for
Right.
And one thing people always ask, they come up and be like, do the dogs like to do this? That's the biggest question. And I'll tell, working with them, that's all they want to do is run. Like, when they see the harnesses come out, when they see that the sleds get, they go crazy. Like, all the dogs are barking, jumping up and down. So, getting them to the line, there's some big guys that, you have to be strong and fit, definitely, to be able to handle that, because you're doing it for 8 hours of the day, just moving dogs back and forth, but they love to do it. And that was one of the coolest things, was just, I had these personal connections with 80 dogs I worked with every single day, and they were just all great dogs. Obviously, dogs will fight and stuff, but that was another big part of my job, is, learning the different personalities of every single dog and making sure that they're safe at all times. And of course, a couple mishaps happen here and there with any job, but, nothing that really puts the dog in danger and stuff like that. And that's just a big responsibility for any dog musher. It's just knowing your dogs and knowing what they need and stuff like that. So yeah, every day, they're super well taken care of, and any, health problems that happen, we fly them down, and we get that all sorted out. And all the mushers, they know their dogs, and so every day I'm putting on zinc sunscreen on their noses so they don't get burned, and you're maintaining their well-being. And so that was another huge job. It's just you see a dog that's not acting the way it's supposed to, so you got to be attentive at all times, and just making sure that they're safe.
What were to happen if a human were to get sick, or something were to happen to them on the glacier? And did you ever have an experience with something like that?
Yeah, we that's a another huge thing they do. They ask about any health problems because, we didn't do tours every single day. We're so high up that if any cloud coverage happened, it's not safe for the helicopters to fly through there. So if something were to happen, we had to once call in an emergency helicopter for a kid who fainted while he was up there, and that was not. It was a little scary, but we just once he went down, we just told him you can't come back because that's a huge health risk.
Was he a friend of yours?
Yeah, but it was the first couple weeks, so I didn't know him too well, but I definitely felt bad for him because he came all the way out there and. He has that, and it's just our managers are responsible. So once that happened, and we were able to get him down because it was a sunny day. But if for some reason that were to happen again, and the helicopters can't get up there, that's a huge. It's just not safe for anybody. So, so there's definitely the risk involved in that. So it definitely was a little dangerous, I guess, in that sense. But that was like the only. Mishap with that, and it wasn't a mishap. I think we never figured out why he actually fainted, so that was another reason why my manager didn't want him to come back, just for his safety.
Right. You don't know.
Yeah.
Like what was wrong with him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you ever have to deal with any other of your coworkers that, like, weren't doing their job? Because it seems like everyone has to be in line, like doing their stuff, because it seems kind of serious. Did you ever have to deal with a coworker who maybe wasn't as on top of things as they should have been?
We had a couple, and it's just that was another thing. It's a huge. There can't be a weak link in the people you work with because you're responsible for so much. So.
The pack's only as strong as the weakest link.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So, I mean, and it's like not taking away anything from those people, but it's definitely, you have to be super serious. You have to be ready to work at 6 a.m. every single day. So, if you come back up from the glacier and say you've been drinking or something like that and you're hungover up there, like that's a huge no-no because you got to be at your full wits the entire time. So it was very serious, yeah. So if anyone had been repeating the same mistakes, then, it's just not...
They'd get let go.
Yeah, they'd get let go. And you never wanted that to happen or anything like that, but it happened a couple times. But just with jobs like that, with any type of job like that, like you can't be like, oh, you get a second chance type thing. Like it's a one and done type thing.
Right.
But things happen up there. So you can't always blame the person because you're up there in the snow on it's super remote. It's stuff happens that you can't be in control of.
Right.
But yeah,
So, what time would the tourists get in, and versus when you would get in, and when would the tours start, and what would you do while they were? Because you didn't go out on the dog sled tours, right? You would stay back at the camp.
Yeah. So the trail went around the camp, so it was 2 miles.
Do you know how much people would be paying for each tour?
The tour itself was a couple hundred, but the biggest expense was flying up in the helicopter. I think a seat was around $300-$400 a seat, so it's like $600 total. And that's just.
But that's also part of it, right?
Yeah,
because
so
the helicopter, was it a scenic ride?
Yeah, it was a 30-minute scenic route. So you're flying right next to these mountains, through the mountains and everything, and then you'd land, and then you do the dog sled tour. So it was definitely a little pricey, but it was pricier because you're flying in a helicopter.
Right.
Having a seat in there was because of gas and everything is super expensive. But yeah, so pretty much every morning we'd wake up at 5:30 and we'd go to the yard. We'd scoop all the poop from the night before and re-water all the dogs so they have a fresh bowl of water in the morning. So once you get done with that in the morning, you'd go eat breakfast with everybody. The cook had breakfast ready for us, and then at about 8 o'clock, all the tourists would start coming in. We'd go from 8 to 5, but we always had cancellations, or maybe they weren't booked all the way, or if the weather's bad, you have a weather day, and so you're kind of just up there, just hanging out with everybody the entire day, and that would happen a decent amount. But
And tourists wouldn't stay the night at the camp.
no. The only way a tourist would stay is if
It was
they couldn't fly out. But all the technology they have now, they like if they see the weather's bad, they're like, hey, like it might not look bad up there, but we see something coming in, and then 30 minutes later you can't see from 10 yards in front of you because it's so bad up there. But so the typical day is you wake up, you take care of the dogs, you do the entire tours for the entire day, and then you have your afterwards tour. So I'm tightening all the chains so they're not too loose, so the dogs aren't getting mixed up with other dogs. So each musher has their 40 dogs, and that's a pack. So if another dog were to run into another pack, like that would be really bad. So that's why you have to be aware if the poles are leaning too far in. You got to redo those. You got to redo the chains. So
if a dog got into another pack, would that pack try and attack that dog?
It just depends on what dog. It depends on if the dog's just walking through. All the dogs are gonna go crazy when they see another dog running around. And a lot of these dogs are used to being off. When they're training in the wintertime, most of the mushers they'll take them out on runs for hours and hours, and it's just 40 dogs running around in a field. So that's pretty much the only time of the year that they're not able to do that, just because it's not safe up there. But if they weren't up there running tours, then they would be back home. There's no snow, they couldn't run. So that's why mushers bring their dogs up there, because they get exercise. It's like a summer vacation almost for them.
Okay.
So when they go back in the winter, that's when they start training. If they're doing trap lining, if they're just used for transportation, or if they're doing the serious races and stuff like that. But yeah, after hours, you're making sure all the dogs are okay. Not okay, but just making sure there's nothing unsafe in the yards. Going through that and feeding all the dogs, and then what I said, we would take the snow machine out, maintain the trail, make sure there's no crevasses that opened up, or something like that. So yeah, we get done around 8 o'clock at night. You have dinner, and then you wake up the next day and do it again. So it was definitely long hours, but it was like definitely worth it. It was rewarding.
How much were you getting paid, if you don't mind me asking?
No, you're good. I would get paid $1 for every tourist that came up on the glacier. So if we did a full day and there's 250 people, I'd get $250, and then I'd split tips with the two mushers. I got 30% of their tips. And we never ask for tips. It's only if the person gives it to them.
Right.
So at the end of the week, my musher would give me like a cut of the tips for the entire week. So it kind of evens out with the weather days and the full days and stuff. So like I was there for 4 months, but I bet a third of our tours got canceled just because of weather.
Was it ever bittersweet when a tour was canceled for a day?
Some days it was definitely nice, because you'd be working like 4 days in a row and you're just exhausted, and you're like, I wouldn't mind just being able to sleep in and stuff. Yeah. But those mushers, like, that's what they live off of pretty much, because it's not you're not in it to make money by any means.
Right.
So everyone really wanted to work, but there's definitely a couple days, and towards the end of the season, everyone's just getting tired.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely a lot of work. But yeah, but for the most part, not really. Everyone was there to work, and that's what we wanted to do. So.
Were there ever any dogs that you grew especially attached to?
Yeah, there was a bunch of them. I mean, my favorite dog, her name was Gumdrop, and she was an 8-year-old husky, and I'd bring her into my tent every night. She'd sleep in my bed with me and stuff like that. So there's certain dogs that you could do that with, and they'd love it. But there's other dogs that
they want to be doing their own thing.
Yeah, exactly. But she was an older dog, and the biggest thing is, like, all these dogs are super friendly towards other to other people, and so at a young age with the puppies and stuff, that's a big thing. It's just getting them in contact with other people, because like it's never good to have an aggressive dog and stuff like that. And if a dog is a problem at a young age, then the musher will put them up for adoption. Find a home for them or something, or maybe another musher that would want them. But for the most part, all the dogs were great up there. There was never any problems with them in other tourists up there. They'd be on the line. They'd come through and pet all of them. That was another part of the tour. They'd introduce the dog's name and you'd pet them and stuff. So they loved humans and stuff like that, which is also really cool. So yeah, definitely a lot of bonds that were made with the dogs, and that was, when you're down on the ground and you're happy to be down there, but then at the end of it, you're like, oh, I miss the dogs. Like I want to go back up there and see them, and that's what almost made me come back this summer was just the dogs. I just, they're awesome, and that's the whole point of doing the job is for the dogs.
Right. And so, like, on that last day, like, after you were done packing everything up, can you, like, walk through what you would do, like, going back into Skagway and, like, what you would do on the weekend when you weren't working on the glacier? Like, what was your typical weekend?
So first, definitely a shower. Everyone's pretty stinky. You don't realize how bad it is until you guys are all down on the ground and you've showered and no one else has, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is.
Yeah.
You guys gotta get in the shower. Come on. But yeah, I mean, we're there to relax. So, a lot of us would, we'd go out for the night. Maybe go to a couple bars or something like that. But also take advantage of just the landscape around us and like do a bunch of hikes that we do that on the weekends. And there was just some really cool areas that we just go out and like hang out and have a fire and stuff like that. We also, any other tour in Skagway was free for us, so we definitely took advantage of that. We do tours on the weekends with everybody. But it was just like kind of just everyone's just relaxing, just chilling out. And we had like a whole house for us, so it was nice, definitely. So but yeah, that's pretty much the typical, just hanging out and taking advantage of where we were and stuff like that.
Now you weren't 21 yet at this time,
No.
right?
No, yeah.
So in most of your coworkers, were they older or like your age?
Some of them were my age and some of them were older. It varied. I think the oldest person besides our manager up there was 28. But those mushers, they do it for a living, so some of them have been there for like 8 years. Like they've been doing the same job for 8 years. Everyone's super helpful, teaching you what to do and getting the hang of it, because if you don't teach anyone, then obviously people are going to get more frustrated. So that was another big thing, is like everyone's helping each other out. So like if my buddy needed me to help out and I don't even, work for his yard, like I'm still going to go over there and help him out and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so I wasn't 21, but it didn't really affect anything. Everyone just treated each other as an equal and stuff like that.
Right. Was there like how big of a town was Skagway?
Very small.
Very small?
Yeah, like I think there's like 10 blocks, 13 blocks. Like you can't drive. There's only one road in and out of Skagway, and it's a 2-lane road. Like you're pretty much stuck in the middle of these huge glaciers, these huge mountains on every side. So the bay was right there in town, and so you pretty much everyone in town once you're there for a couple of months. You see the same people, and all the other people that work for different tours and stuff. So you'd be hanging out with other people that you wouldn't even be working with too on the weekends, because everyone's just so cool. And they'd come up on our tours and we'd go on their tours and stuff like that. So it was a big community,
Yeah.
But it was just a neat, cool little town. You have everything you need in there, and that's pretty much it.
Were there like bars you guys would go to as
Yeah.
like a group and stuff like that?
Yeah. We had a bar called Happy Endings, which was pretty funny. And then the hotel next to it was called Morningwood, which was
So
yeah, that was.
Were they like built together, or was it just?
They were combined, yeah.
And Morningwood, it was the hotel, and Happy Endings.
This was the bar, yeah.
That's funny.
So
was that the go-to for the?
That was kind of the end of the night, our end of the night scene.
The nightcap.
The nightcap, yeah. But I mean that place was cool. Like they had cornhole in the back, so we'd always go out there during the day and throw bags and stuff like that. And then Bonanza was another one, but that was like a kind of younger scene and stuff. Like they'd have like the karaoke, the dance nights, and all that different type of stuff. But there's only like two or three bars in the whole place. But yeah, so like, you know, if we're there every weekend, you know, we know all the people there and stuff like that. So.
But so on Sunday, you guys would not go out to bars, like you're relaxing, getting ready to go out on the helicopter ride and start another long week of work.
Yeah, so the thing we did was tours are running every day during the week, so we'd have half crew. So half the crew would go down on Thursday night, and they'd have Thursday night all day Friday, and then they'd fly up Saturday morning. So that Friday day is like your relaxed day pretty much, you know. No one's really going out because, you know, you got to be ready for work. So you'd have like that Thursday night, and then the other half crew would be a 48, so you'd have Saturday and Sunday night. But yeah, so it's not you're not really down there a whole lot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you said it was a cruise ship town. Like, was it one specific cruise liner that would come in, or was it multiple different?
Yeah,
ones?
you had everything. You know, you had the Island Princess and the Norwegian. What the heck was that thing called? Norwegian crew lines or something like that. But yeah, there's. You know, like the Disney cruise is coming in on Thursday, so you know you have more kids coming up than normal and stuff like that. So you definitely, you know, use that to your advantage. Like you have, you know the kids are coming up, so you put a lot of more of the dogs that have the cool names on the lines and stuff like that. Like
right.
You have a Harry Potter litter or Lord of the Rings litter, and like all the kids love that. So you know you'd have like Weasley and Hermione hanging out there, the two dogs and stuff. So that was also really cool too. You know, kind of. We definitely met a lot of cool, you know, tourists coming up and stuff like that. And I was actually able to use my Spanish too up there because, you know, you get a lot of people that came up there and didn't really speak English. And so I'd come on the tours that were more Spanish speaking groups and kind of explain to them what's going on and stuff like that. So you're definitely adapting to all the different people that are coming up there too.
That's very cool. This will be my last question about Alaska. Well, it kind of is about both. So you were in Alaska significantly longer than Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
So it might not be a fair question, and also they're vastly different places. But was there one that you felt like the experience like resonated with you better, like you enjoyed it more than the other between Costa Rica and Alaska?
Well, the big thing in Alaska, I was making money, which was nice. But I mean, I don't really. It's so hard to compare the two because I guess the experience was different, but at the same time, it was kind of the same as you're still working as a team in a community that everyone wants to be there, you know? Because, like, I worked in a restaurant, and, like, if anyone's worked in a restaurant, you know, like, it's not the happiest place of all time. People sometimes there definitely don't want to be a server, but, you know, in these places, like, everyone wanted to be there, so, like, that was also really cool.
Right.
But, I mean, I can't compare the two just because I met so many cool people in Costa Rica and also met so many awesome people in Alaska. And I would do both again. They were both. And I think doing both of them too, you know, made me definitely respect, you know, like how lucky we are, you know, to be able to go to college and stuff like that.
Right.
That's a thing that when you travel a little bit, you realize, you know, if you took stuff for granted and stuff, so it really humbles you at the same time. So I think both of those, you know, were great experiences for me as a person and for me growing into the adult. I'm gonna, you know, be responsible and independent for myself for the next how many years of my life that's coming up in a couple of years. So it was nice to be able to have that independence and to rely on yourself to do stuff instead of other people.
Okay, thank you, and we're gonna take a little break and we'll be back and we'll talk about the last place you went to. All right, we're back, and we're going to be talking about the third place you went to, and if I'm correct, it was the third and the shortest trip you had?
Yeah, I went to the Big Island, Hawaii, for a month.
What were you doing there?
So I was my friend Ronnie from Alaska. He moved down there, so he works on a coffee farm. So I went down there for a month and worked there on the farm for a place to stay. So just did any chores around the farm that the guy needed us to do.
So you weren't getting paid?
No. I had a little money left over from Alaska, so I decided to go down there and just kind of my last travel before going back to school in the fall. So
So you were just working for a place to stay.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
more of a for me to kind of just explore, you know.
Right.
So
How much did you have to work a week in
only-
order to stay?
it was only 4 hours, so
Only 4 hours a week, and the
Yeah,
rest
so
was just like
it
vacation
was
time.
really just a vacation. But it was also, you know, not a typical Hawaii vacation like the resorts and stuff. I was living in a tiny little shack with no electricity, no running water, outhouse, no shower. Had a shower out of a bag, pretty much. So it was still, you know, roughing it and having to cook all of our own meals and stuff like that. So
I know Hawaii. The locals have a big problem with tourists. Were they ever upset that you were there? Or did you ever have any issues with locals in Hawaii?
The locals were some of the nicest people I've met, but also at the same time, Hawaii's just been kind of screwed over in the past. So, you know, it's understandable that all these other people come to Hawaii thinking that it's just a vacation spot, but it's actually this beautiful place that a lot of people have worked hard to maintain for, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years. So, I mean, I think that's more of like any place, you know. So for me, I didn't really have any big problems. But you know, sometimes if you're in the wrong, you know, you're in the wrong spot. Not more of like you're going to somewhere that's, you know, private property that's, you know, someone else owns, and you're trying to do a hike through there or something like that. Like obviously people are going to get upset about that.
Right.
But it was still just like such a welcoming place as well. So it was more of you just got to respect the same thing as
Right.
before. So
What type of work did you have to do on the coffee farm?
the biggest thing was just maintaining the coffee trees. So picking off all the weeds and stuff that are killing the trees and clearing that out, and also just building little stuff around the shack for the guy to improve. So once when we're gone, the other people have, you know, more stuff. So just clearing out weeds. You know, we built a shower and stuff like that. So, you know, just helping the guy out with pretty much whatever he needed. So
That's cool. So like, since most of the time it seems like you had free time while you were there, how long exactly were you in Hawaii?
4 weeks, and pretty much, you know, Hawaii's such a beautiful place. I just wanted to see as much as I could in that amount of time. So, you know, when my friend and I wasn't working, we were just traveling around all the islands doing like crazy cool hikes. And in the first week, you know, I'll just say one of the cool stories that while I was there was we went hitchhiking, which is a big thing in Hawaii. And I told people that, and they're like, oh, some weirdo could pick you up and stuff, but it's more of like just helping someone out down there, you know. So we actually got picked up by this guy who lived in California, but he's from Germany, and he was around 65 years old, and he picked us up and drove us down to this green sand beach that we were going down to, and he wasn't even planning on going there. He just kind of took us down there, and like he was talking, he was a super cool guy, and we convinced him to go on this hike with us, and Ronnie didn't tell him that it's a 4-mile hike to the beach. So that was pretty funny. We just kept going. The guy's like, yeah, so a little longer than I expected. But he was like all for it and stuff, so it was like kind of a joke. But it was wild. This random guy, we just chilled with him all day and learned about his life and what
He's
he was
just
doing.
a 65-year-old guy.
Yeah, just hanging. And it wasn't a weird thing at all. Like his family had just left, and he was just driving to his Airbnb for the night. He was doing some exploring. So he was like, oh, what are some cool places? And we were like, you should come down and hang out with us at this green sand beach in South Point. It's the most southern point in the United States. So we did that hike with him, went swimming on the beach and stuff, and then we actually went cliff jumping with him, like off a 40-foot cliff. He jumped with us, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so climbing up this ladder made by tires and chains and stuff up this huge cliff. It was wild, but that was a cool experience, and like me and him have actually texted after that, just keeping up, you know. And he was just a cool dude, just helping us out, and it was probably my favorite day.
That's awesome.
Just by luck, yeah.
That's awesome. What other places did you go see while you were in Hawaii?
So you're gonna have to excuse me. Hawaii's names for everything is pretty wild. It was
Right.
But we hiked to the top of one of the volcanoes called Mauna Loa, and we were the only hikers there the entire day. We saw one other person actually when we were coming down, but we hiked up till 13,000 elevation. So lungs were definitely not used to it, and we were sitting up there, and it's all lava rocks, so there's no wildlife or anything up there, and it's the most silent I've ever heard in my life, like just silence. And it was just beautiful. Like we're looking into the big crater. It was huge, and it was a pretty wild.
Was it active?
Yeah, it was active.
Were you ever sketched out or freaked out a little bit by that?
It's one of those volcanoes that doesn't just like pop its top. It
Right.
rises up, so like if it's like you can get a warning in advance a couple days if you know it's gonna spill. So definitely not worried about like it just erupting while we were up
Right.
there. Don't know if I would have gone up there if I knew the thing could just go off at any second. So we did that, which was awesome. Then we hiked down into this valley called YPO, which had 2 waterfalls that were beautiful, just like cutting right through the cliff, which was wild. So I mean, those are just a couple examples of like some really cool hikes and exploring you do. And when you do that, you meet a lot of cool people too. So that was just another thing. It's just like, you know, there's a big thing there. Like if you give back to the island gives back to you, and that's how I really felt when I was there. You know, so just if I ever saw a hitchhiker, like we picked them up, you know, you just kind of, you know, repay it. You know, like those, what are those cookie the tolls, cookie converter repay it or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
That was a dumb example.
So you were there for only 4 weeks. What was your? I'm trying to. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine, man.
Like, what was your favorite thing? Not your favorite thing you did, but like your favorite part about being in Hawaii.
Just like the whole vibe. Like that sounds so basic because it's Hawaii, but like it's just such a chill vibe there. Like everyone just like goes with the flow. Like you don't let stuff bother you. You know, like you just kind of take the punches but sometimes everything works out. So I really like that lifestyle, and just I mean, like people don't honk their horns there in Hawaii. Like the traffic's like there's no traffic. Like there's no. Like, no one's getting mad for no reason when you're coming here in D.C. and everyone's, like, flipping the bird every time you're trying to merge onto the highway or something like that, you know? Like, it's definitely, like, just everyone's more chill, and it's just, like, everyone's nice to everyone type stuff. Like, so that was, like, the whole persona of it was just really cool and just something I never experienced before. And just kind of made me realize, like, you don't stress the small things because then, you know, it just leads to more stress, so you just kind of roll the punches and stuff like that. So that was definitely something the biggest thing I took away from Hawaii, even though I was only there in a short time. So yeah.
Could you see yourself going back and doing something similar at some point?
I definitely could see myself going back, but I definitely wouldn't go there and move there permanently. Just kind of out of respect for the community and stuff like that, you know?
Right.
Like, if I went, like, I have people there and they go there and, like, they want to make a change and stuff, but, I mean, just out of respect, I enjoyed my time there, but I don't want to overstay my time.
Right.
Not saying anything bad would happen or anything like that, but just learning about the whole culture there and stuff, and how that place is, like, it's like a sanctuary, you know? You enjoy it while you can, but, you let the people that, you know, live there, you know, take care of it and stuff.
Right.
So.
And so this was your last big trip before you go back to school. Mm-hmm. And you are going back to school now,
yeah.
this upcoming fall. Do you think that more so than college, this time off and these, like, I keep saying adventures, but that's pretty much what they are.
Yeah.
Do you think that these adventures, you know, changed you in any way or helped you in any way? And do you think it was worth it?
Yeah, definitely 100%. It definitely, of course, you know, college, you know, it's education, and it's definitely something that's why I'm going back, because I want to do it. But I think with all these experiences, it's going to make me, it makes me appreciate college way more than I did before. And when I was there, it's not like I failed out or anything like that. That's what people always think happened, but it really just was, I just needed to take a step back and just focus on, the bigger picture for myself. And I think doing these experiences definitely made me grow as an individual, and having the independence and like going in, coming from Fairfax and stuff, like you don't really see a whole lot of, I don't know how to put into words, but just being able to see other people's perspectives and learn other values and other stuff that you can incorporate into your own life instead of having the same people telling you the same things. And that's how I kind of felt at college, Not it was forced, but just I wasn't getting the most out of it, and I needed to do something else to make myself a better student and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my biggest thing now is I want to like educate people and tell them like you need to travel before you settle down for the rest of your life. Like you need to experience something different. Like everyone goes to college and they get the same degree and they get the same job and they're stuck in the same place the rest of their life. And I think a lot of people would benefit from just taking a step outside of their bubble and like doing something that not a lot of people would do. And if you told me when I was 18 going into school that I would take 2 years off and do all this stuff, I'd be like, nah, not a chance. Like, I'm going to school. But after doing this, it's been the best 2 years of my entire life, and I wouldn't give it back for anything. So.
That's awesome. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
I think that's all the time that you said you had. So, thank you again so much. This was Connor Werline. Thank you again.